Look, I am going to be completely honest with you guys. My stomach absolutely turned when I finished reading through the massive stack of federal legal dockets that just leaked late last night. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, logging into your online banking app, and looking at the hard-earned cash you painfully set aside for your quarterly tax bill, only to realize that money is not going to fund local schools, fix crumbling roads, or pay for veteran health care. Instead, your cash is being routed straight into a massive, closed-door billion-dollar slush fund designed to turn political operators, corporate insiders, and federal co-conspirators into overnight millionaires. That is not some fictional dystopian movie script. That is the exact structural nightmare unfolding right now in a federal courtroom on May 17, 2026. Allison Gill just dropped an absolute tactical nuke of a breakdown on the Daily Beans podcast, uncovering a massive attempt by Donald Trump to settle a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit that he basically filed against his own administration. We are looking at a staggering $1.776 billion taxpayer-funded payout created under the guise of the President Donald J. Trump Truth and Justice Commission, with a final figure deliberately picked to mimic the year 1776. This money is meant to be distributed by a hand-picked panel of 5 individuals whom Trump can fire at will without any cause, operating with absolutely zero congressional oversight or public disclosure. When systemic institutional corruption reaches a level of pure, unadulterated madness like this, it does not just stay confined to a courthouse in Miami. It triggers a quiet crisis of confidence that rips straight through the heart of the global financial markets. Oh shit, we are not going to let your life savings become accidental collateral damage to this political circus. Because today we are breaking down the exact strategic blueprint the smart money uses to build a financial fortress when institutional trust completely breaks down. Let us strip away the partisan screaming and look at the cold, hard operational mechanics of this unprecedented legal hustle to understand why the market is starting to sweat. This entire corporate style raid on the U.S. Treasury started back on the 29th of January when Trump, alongside his adult sons Eric and Don Jr., filed a massive $10 billion lawsuit in their personal capacities against the Internal Revenue Service. Their core legal claim was that the IRS severely violated the Privacy Act when a private contractor leaked his personal tax returns to mainstream media outlets. During his first term in office, they intentionally filed this monster lawsuit in the Southern District of Florida, betting everything that they would draw Judge Aileen Cannon, the exact same friendly judge who previously threw out the federal classified documents case. But the legal universe pulled a massive, unexpected twist, and the case documents landed right on the desk of District Judge Kathleen Williams, an Obama appointee who actually respects the strict boundaries of the United States Constitution. Judge Williams immediately smelled something incredibly rotten with the setup and raised a foundational barrier under Article 3, Section 1 of the Constitution, which restricts federal courts to hearing actual live cases or controversies for a lawsuit to be legally valid. There must be a real adversarial dispute between two completely independent parties who are actively fighting against each other to win. But in this bizarre reality, Trump is the personal plaintiff suing the IRS, which is an executive branch agency that he completely controls as the active sitting president of the United States, to prevent an immediate collusive job settlement where the plaintiff and the defendant simply agreed to rob the vault. Judge Williams appointed an elite team of outside independent attorneys, known as amicus curiae, to step in and investigate the structural legitimacy of the suit. This legal defense team just submitted a scorching, comprehensive brief on May 14th that completely dismantles the underlying architecture of this attempted cash grab. They pointed out that Trump's capacity for control over the IRS is extraordinary, highlighting that he has already cycled through 6 different IRS commissioners, recently firing Commissioner Billy Long without providing a single shred of justification. Even more insane, the independent brief uses Trump's own public statements as exhibits, quoting him telling reporters that he is supposed to work out a settlement with himself and that he will simply tell the Treasury to pay him. The amicus brief lays out 4 distinct layers of absolute legal rejection, proving that there is zero real adversity. The court lacks subject matter jurisdiction. No tangible financial damages are traceable to the leak, and the statutory 2-year limitation period expired years ago. If Judge Williams takes this airtight legal advice and throws the lawsuit out for lack of jurisdiction, it completely shatters the formal vehicle Trump is utilizing to bypass Congress and loot the Treasury Judgment Fund. But as long-term investors looking to grow our wealth, we cannot just treat this like a wild political soap opera. We have to look deeply at the massive macroeconomic ripples this kind of governance degradation inflicts on our money. When the chief executive of the world's reserve currency nation openly treats the Federal Treasury like a personal corporate checkbook, international investors start losing faith in the absolute integrity of American institutions. The very second global capital detects that a superpower's financial systems are being manipulated or mined from within, a massive silent capital rotation begins away from fragile paper systems and into hard, physical, Rehypothecated defensive assets. Let us walk through the exact step-by-step portfolio defense matrix you need to deploy right now to make sure your net worth survives this era of extreme systemic decay. Rule number 1 of investing through an institutional crisis is to aggressively ramp up your liquid cash allocation. When political scandals threaten the fundamental stability of regulatory bodies, institutional funds quietly de-risk their positions, creating sudden, highly violent air pockets in the broader stock market by maintaining a dedicated 15 to 25% cash cushion parked safely. In high-yield savings accounts or ultra-short-term treasury bills, you completely insulate yourself from being forced to sell your long-term stocks during a panic. This liquid cash position acts as your ultimate psychological shield, meaning that if a massive political headline triggers an abrupt 3% flash crash tomorrow morning, you are not sweating. You are actively hunting for deep value discounts. Next, we must look at the ultimate wealth preservation vehicle that has outlived every corrupt regime, failed fiat currency, and broken legal system for the past 5,000 years: physical gold. When the general public begins to realize that paper wealth is subject to the whims of political slush funds and arbitrary legal settlements, smart money relocates capital into assets with absolutely zero counterparty risk. Gold does not care about federal court jurisdictions, it does not care about hand-picked commissions, and it cannot be printed into worthlessness to satisfy a backroom political deal. I do not view precious metals as a high-risk speculative trade to get rich by next week. I treat them as a literal catastrophic insurance policy for my family's financial future. Just like you willingly buy insurance on your home hoping it never burns down, you hold a calculated 5 to 10% position in physical gold to guarantee that no matter how chaotic the political structure becomes, your foundational purchasing power remains bulletproof. We also need to execute a deep structural audit of our equity holdings, shifting capital away from businesses that depend heavily on government handouts, federal subsidies, or volatile political favor. When an entire government becomes hyper-politicized, businesses that live by the political sword can be instantly destroyed by the political sword when a sudden court ruling drops or a new administration takes the wheel. Instead, reallocate your investment dollars into high-quality, free cash flow, generative enterprises that possess massive, unassailable competitive moats and sell everyday essential goods that consumers must buy, regardless of who is occupying the White House. Prioritize corporate fortresses that maintain pristine balance sheets, hold massive cash reserves, carry zero short-term debt refinancing risk, and boast a consistent history of returning wealth to shareholders through growing dividends. These resilient value creators serve as a natural buffer against macroeconomic chaos, ensuring your capital continues to compound steadily even when the political backdrop looks like a total train wreck. But beyond the specific stock sectors, cash ratios, or precious metal allocations, the absolute most critical component of your wealth survival strategy is mastering your own psychological defense mechanism. The entire media industrial complex is explicitly engineered to keep your brain locked in a state of perpetual high-stress panic because your fear is highly profitable to their viewer metrics. When you read a breaking headline about a $2 billion taxpayer heist, it is incredibly easy to experience deep anger, act on raw emotion, and make catastrophic, impulsive blunders with your life savings. The ultra wealthy never build multi-generational fortunes by reacting emotionally to the daily news cycle. They view systemic chaos through a cold, calculating lens and treat temporary market dislocations as prime accumulation windows. The American economy has successfully navigated through historical assassinations, global world wars, devastating inflationary shocks, and massive constitutional crises. And through every single shock, the productive capacity of great businesses ultimately broke through the temporary madness of corrupt politicians. This current legal warfare over the Treasury is a stark, undeniable warning sign that the structural guardrails of the economy are being pushed to their absolute limits. But from a wealth perspective, it is simply a loud cosmic alarm to secure your own perimeter. Take an hour to look closely at your personal balance sheet tonight. Lock in your liquidity reserves, eliminate any toxic high-interest consumer debt, and ensure your capital is firmly anchored in real, tangible economic value that cannot be wiped out by a single corrupt judicial signature. When your personal financial empire is built like a maximum security fortress, you no longer have to live at the mercy of whatever crazy headline happens to flash across your screen tomorrow morning. You can watch the political storms pass by, analyze the macro shifts with absolute emotional detachment, and make calm, strategic moves that permanently protect your family and expand your financial freedom. The world out there might be acting completely unhinged right now, but when your wealth is properly shielded, you hold the absolute power over your own future. Peace.